Hey, I'm Joe Brown.
And I'm Robert Rushing.
And we're the Old Government Guys. Old Government Guys is a podcast where we seek to highlight ordinary feds who do extraordinary things and shed light on and recognize your friends, family, and neighbors who comprise the government workforce. Too often, their work goes unnoticed, and we want to put a face on the fellow feds and share with you their stories and accomplishments in a fun and respectful way.
Hey, it's Robert Rushing, one of the Old Government Guys, and today I've got the pleasure of interviewing and chatting with Mr. Bo Bloomer.
Another old government guy.
Another old government
Old
guy.
Air Force guy. Yeah.
Well, we got the beard, and we all have that kind of that similar good look. How about that? And Bo, I just want to thank you for taking the time to chat with us and chat with me in particular. It's funny, so I'll tell just a little backstory because it's like we never really met, but then I knew who you were. When I moved, I PCS to the NCR, and I needed a realtor, and I had seen you on LinkedIn as a realtor, but I recognized your name because one of those things with names. I went back and looked, and I also am a digital hoarder. So all my emails dating back to probably 2000.
I'm the same way. And I keep saying to myself, there's some time in my life that somebody's going to come back and say, hey, do you have that email? I'm going to have it.
Yes.
That hasn't happened yet. And I've got all of these files, and I think I just need to.
That's why that hard drive is there.
Yeah. Really. Oof.
And so I recognized your name, and I went back and looked. I think you were at Aviano, right?
Yeah.
And I think you were at Aviano when I was at Golden Hole. In fact, Dan Cass, we have a mutual friend.
Yeah,
right? So
we hired him out there.
Yep, you hired Dan out there, and Dan's a good guy. Dan, if you're listening, shout out to you. So, Bo, this is a part where I'm going to kind of quit talking. Why don't you just tell everyone a little bit about kind of your career, what you did?
Sure.
And if there's any highlights or any kind of crowning achievement that you look back on kind of more fondly.
So a lot of times when I tell people I'm, previous Air Force or retired Air Force, they're like, oh, what'd you fly?
Yes.
I flew mahogany, and I flew a slide rule. Well, we didn't have slide rules back then. But, there's numerous different career fields within the organization, within the Department of the Air Force, just like the Navy or Department of the Interior. It's not just all pilots. You have to, have this little entity, this little world and a base, self-sufficient. They have their own, schools. They have their own hospitals. They have their own, chow halls. Well, they also have their own engineers who have to maintain the roads, the plumbing, the sewage treatment plants, maybe in certain situations, and the people to take care of the buildings, the people to build new buildings, as well as, of course, the people who maintain and fix the runway and the hangars for the aircraft. Doctors, all of the above. For schools, we have federal employees that work in the schools. They're teachers. They're federal employees. So I was a civil engineer. I was kind of like the Department of Public Works guy. And, taking care of, the roads and commodes, as we used to say, on the base. And one of our previous bosses, General Eulberg, used to think about what we did as the platform for the war machine, or the platform for the various different airplanes or the missions, etc. Because essentially you have to have this foundation for the Air Force to take off from, or whatever. Navy's got their ships. The Army goes out and does their things. But the Air Force's footprint is essentially an Air Force base. Often you'll hear stories about, like a recent bombing in some location. Yeah, B-2s took off from someplace maybe in, Missouri or Iowa, or I don't know.
Right.
You've been out of the service long enough where you don't even remember some of the bases, or they got these new aircraft.
Yeah.
F-35s, amazing. So this aircraft took off from this base. And it's more than just an airport. We've got all these different things. So I was very lucky to be within the civil engineering community, and we maintained that footprint, that platform.
The power projection
The
platform.
power projection platform, yeah. Living another mentor boss of mine, Bob Moriarty, he would say the asset. We had all these assets out there, this land, the runway, the air facilities, etc., that we had to maintain these assets. And it was pretty cool. One of the great things about the organization, I'm sure that you know as well, is that as very junior individuals, we were thrust with just a huge amount of responsibility, where our peers in the private sector might be, shuffling paper for some senior principal architect or engineer. We're doing a lot more. So just a great career. One of the things that I really appreciated was the diversity of the jobs that we did.
Yeah.
And one of the jobs that I loved really getting into was the whole environmental world. And I really got a good appreciation for the laws, the environmental compliance type stuff on the kind of the regulations and rules and regulations side of the house, but also on the positive, the marketing, the forward-thinking pollution prevention, and all those really cool programs. And when I was in Guam a million years ago, we were able to do some really neat things. We had a landfill, so we had some really creative programs to make sure that we had this concept that I came up with, a virgin landfill. We wanted to make sure that we didn't have any household hazardous waste or junk going into the landfill. So we had that concept. We wanted to recycle as much as possible because we had this landfill. So just really, really lucky. And I'm very fortunate to be able to continue to help folks in the government or in the services in real estate when they get stationed out here in the DC area, Northern Virginia, DC, or Maryland, like yourself.
And if you're in the government at some point, you're coming to the DC area, the NCR, right? The National Capital Region. Because I've got a lot of friends that, about the time that this comes out, they're coming out of school, and what does the Pentagon do? They shop the school list, right? And they're going to take the bright and shinies, and usually you kind of get at least one of your kind of Pentagon rotations in as fresh school graduates. So if you are, talk to Bo. So let me ask you a question, Bo. Looking at all the different jobs that you've held, and that was the one thing that I appreciated, even as a civilian. So a lot of civilians, they look to us as continuity for the military members. As you do training and deploy, we kind of stay home station, keep things going. But I tried to model my career after an officer. So I moved every 2 to 3 years, and it wasn't intentional. I just thought it was a pretty cool thing to do, to see new bases and learn new things. Of all the locations that you worked, do you have a duty station or assignment that kind of stands out to you as a favorite? And if so, why?
Of course, we loved Europe. Italy was amazing. Where Italy was amazing in the location, in the building, the people were wonderful. I didn't really appreciate the mission as much as I did when I was in Iraq, in Baghdad. Because in Italy, where we were focused, and I hate to say this, we were focused on the club, the golf course, some of the facilities, the dorms. It was more engineering. Whereas in Balad, in Iraq, it was definitely more combat engineering.
Yes.
I may have been on the flight line at Aviano twice. In Balad, in Iraq, I was probably on the flight line several times a day. Real combat engineering. So I think that the polarity between those two different types of jobs was really, really unique, and it was something I really learned to appreciate. But definitely, Italy was amazing. I was also very lucky early in my career to do a lot of time in the Pacific.
Oh yeah.
So while there are some locations out there that are a little bit less than desirable, there are some amazing locations out there. And to have the U.S. government, have the military sending all of the service members and government members likewise to these locations is pretty special to do all the work.
So let me ask you a quick question, because one thing you said a second ago is it's like there's no 2 days of the same, right? You don't really know what you're coming into, especially in the CE, the civil engineer community. Roads to commodes. I actually have never heard that.
Oh, yeah.
Interestingly enough, and spent 25 years in civil engineering. But what would you say was kind of like the phone call you received one time? You're like, you want me to do what? Just kind of random.
I always fondly remember the amazing leadership that you had. You know, these mentors that you remember, and you take a lot of the things that they do and a lot of the things that they teach you and put them in your back pocket.
Yep.
Leadership 101 kind of stuff. On the flip side, you also remember those folks that you do not want to emulate to your future subordinates. And I remember this one commander of ours, and if any of the folks that I was stationed with at this assignment remember this, you'll know what I'm talking about. We would get calls on the radio when our commander would see a palm frond fall from a palm tree.
Oh, I know exactly who you're talking about.
Yeah. And when the palm frond, we would jokingly say that we don't need to drive around ever. We can tell the grounds maintenance guys in the contract, don't worry about it, because our absolute number one response was the colonel.
Yes.
And the colonel would be out there, there's a palm frond down. And we would often cringe when we heard, CE1 to Ops1 or something like that.
Yes.
Because we knew there's a palm frond down. And I think the key there was the appreciation of prioritization.
Yeah.
Because, when a civil engineer is responsible for infrastructure, lights, power, electric, sewer, the base, the roads, everything on a base. Readiness, fire department, explosive ordnance disposal. And you realize that the number one individual in that organization is focused on palm fronds. I think you've got things.
Yeah.
Your priorities are a little bit mistaken. So I think the key there was making sure that you always have your compass, your azimuth, and which way the organization is going set. And you want to try to make sure that most of the people in the organization are all pointing in the same direction. I was very fortunate because I am a product of the civil service system. My dad was a long time civil service.
Oh, wow.
I think at one point he was a GS 15 step 10 for probably 20 plus years.
Wow.
So he's been around. So I appreciate the civil service system tremendously. And learning about prioritization and focusing on your main mission and your job, and making sure that your team is focused on those things. Not, you got to keep somebody out there to worry about the palm fronds, but it's not the 05 lieutenant colonel, CEO of the organization. You got somebody else for those types of things.
Right.
Is pretty cool, and I think that's helped me a lot now. Because when I'm able to help individuals, I want to make sure I focus on their goals. Hey, I need a house with 4-car garage or something like that. You listen and you try to move forward with them. But very lucky to have spent a career in the Air Force and learned a lot from folks.
Hey, Robert Rushing here, and I just wanted to take a few minutes to introduce Bo Bloomer. He's with the Checkmate Realty Group, and let Bo tell you a little bit about what it is he does.
So we're super excited to be able to continue to help folks. I'm retired Air Force, and you talk about your service, and one of the things that we do now is that we're able to continue our service by helping folks find homes, find a house that their family can make a home. We're here across all of DC, Virginia, and Maryland. And what's great is that individuals moving in from all the different locations, as well as people here that might be downsizing or even maybe looking for an investment, something like that. We're kind of all your real estate needs, your one-stop shop. So looking forward to help out individuals. One of the things that we often will talk about is that if individuals have not moved in the area yet, we can help you out by being your boots on the ground and walk through and do FaceTime videos or any kind of thing like that, so that you can see a home if you're interested in that. Other than that, we are also super adept at picking up folks at the airport if you're coming out for a house hunting trip. Matter of fact, I've got one tomorrow with an individual coming out from Arizona. Pick you up at the airport, drive you around. You can look at different areas. We can give you a different sense of like this little town or that little town, so that you can really find a place you fall in love with and that your family's going to have a wonderful place to make a home.
All right. And as a customer, I can say this. When we moved to the NCR, it was a change of agency for me. The family was stressing, in the middle of the pandemic. And one thing we didn't have to worry about the house because we knew that you were going to take care of us. And so, Bo, I thank you for that.
Thanks so much, Robert. It was an absolute pleasure working with you, and being able to help out folks is the top of our game. We love doing that.
All right. Turn this back around and ask you a couple of more questions. So the other thing that you had said earlier that you appreciate about the military is like our junior officers come in and they become PMs for multi-million-dollar projects. You get a lot of experience as a new engineer. Is there any one project that stands out in your mind that you kind of look back on? And the reason why I bring this up is, and the reason why we're doing the podcast is a lot of times taxpayers don't know what they're getting.
Mm-hmm.
And you had said, an Air Force base was like a small city. You had like a city manager, a town engineer, and you have to do all this stuff. And if you think about the complexities of running a city at 77-ish major installations around the world and a bunch of other smaller installations as well, there's a lot of things that need to be done. Yep. And many times it's new lieutenants, interns, right, who get handed these major projects or tasks in the beginning, and you sometimes you have to look around and you're like, there's not a bench here, I have to figure this stuff out.
Yep.
And I have a couple of projects that I look back on and go, wow, I can't believe I did that, or that I was lucky enough to be a part of. Do you have a project like that you...
Oh yeah, just one that I was recently talking to somebody who was out at LA Air Force Base. LA Air Force Base, a lot of times people think, oh, LA Air Station. Well, I think it may have been LA Air Station, but LA Air Force Base, no flight line, but it's predominantly a campus for a lot of the space world acquisition and missile systems and things like that. Think GPS, everything up in the sky, different types of satellites. So you need lots of office buildings. Well, back in the day, it was geographically separated units. Downtown Los Angeles and El Segundo area, they had a whole bunch of different land and different pockets and older infrastructure and facilities. And this is right, let's say back in the mid 90s, late 90s, that the Air Force and the Department of Defense were really getting into public-private partnership relationships, in which we would have a bunch of land over here with some old crappy buildings. I'm not sure we can say crappy on that.
Oh, we can say. Yes.
And we'd say, okay, private firms or out in the public, whatever. We have all this land, and oh, by the way, back then that land was worth several $1 million an acre. Let's get with the town, the county, all the different little cities around there, and we say, okay, hey, we're going to give you this land over here, but we want you to build us a really great, top of the line, like a campus over here for all the new. It was Space and Missile Systems Center back then. It's now, and that was back in the old AFMC days. Before Space Command, now Space Force, probably.
It's been like Systems Command too, right?
It was Systems Command after AFMC.
There you go.
Or
right.
AFL's Logistics Command?
It's Air Force Material Command, AFMC now, yeah. I know, lots of transformation.
I know.
Acronym soup.
Lets you know how old we are. That we were able to do that. And it was pretty darn cool to be on the real early stage of that. We had a couple great MilCon projects come in at the exact same time. A new gym was installed over there, so I was able to work a little bit with that. And this is a young captain,
Oh man.
you know.
Yeah.
And then this large public-private partnership happened, and it's interesting to be able to talk to folks who are now at LA Air Force Base, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I'm over in Area A or Area B or whatever it is now." Oh, you were part of that project? Yeah. I'm like, yeah. It was really, really cool.
Yeah, that's so cool. And it, you know, we only talked a few minutes about it, but if you go out and you look at LA Air Station now and what it would have taken, especially if you do the P3, P4 route, what it would have taken through traditional MilCon or something, and you were just part of that cutting edge, able to deliver facilities faster, better, at a better deal for the public, you know, and to be able to meet the mission, that's such a cool story.
Yeah, a lot of neat stuff. And just kind of doing things differently. Even in the housing world, because the Air Force for decades and decades and decades owned our own homes, and you know, we thought we knew how to do it the best, but really and truly the private sector knows how to do things better. So we learn from the private sector and the public sector on how to do things and make it better for their taxpayers.
Absolutely. So, another quick question.
Of course.
One person that you look back on your career and go, wow, I am glad that I ran into, and it could be a mentor, it could have been someone that helped you, you know, something, but is there anyone you want to give a shout out to, or just say, I owe a lot to X because of Y?
Yeah, one of the guys early in my career, and interesting enough, I haven't talked to him in probably 20-some years. He was a captain, and when you have a whole slew of lieutenants at the base and you've got this one captain, you know, he was like, you know, the king of all of us, and everybody looked up to him and, you know, thought he was omniscient, all-knowing. Brian Hashimoto. And I think he's still in Florida. He worked for FPL, Florida Power and Light, for many, many years. But he was an Academy grad as well, and just a great leader and a great thinker, because there's usually a critical time in one's career where they are like, oh my gosh, I can start thinking and making decisions for myself.
Yeah.
And he was that one individual that put that in my head that, no, you can make decisions and start thinking. You just don't have to be, you know, somebody who's cranking out, you know, jobbing it and getting directions from somebody else. You need to think about things and you can make a decision. And that was always cool. I always really appreciated that from Brian. So Brian, if you're out there listening,
heck yeah. Brian, we're gonna come find you.
Yeah. He also had the coolest car. You know, all of us lieutenants had, you know, these total beaters, and he had this I want to say a Nissan, super cool car. But
So you know what I didn't do? I didn't ask. So you're an Academy graduate. When did you graduate the Academy?
In 1992. I usually don't tell people that, because a lot of times, you know, and I don't wear a ring. But I think it was a great opportunity, and I definitely owe so much of my life and career to what I learned from the Academy. Of course, I would not have gotten into the Academy if I didn't dive, like swimming and diving. I was recruited by the diving coach, Colonel Mickey King Hogue.
Oh, wow.
And Olympic gold medalist from 1972.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's super cool.
It was a superb opportunity.
Yeah, a lot of my friends are Academy grads or A&M. Oddly enough, a bunch of Notre Dame folks. I say oddly enough. On the military side. And then, anyway, just on the civilian side, you know, you get your hodgepodge mix of different schools. And I'm not wearing Oklahoma State stuff today, but everyone pretty much knows, oh, he's a cowboy. And just a quick sidebar, like, where'd you go to school thing. At all of USAFE, I think I may have been on the CE staff, the only one from OSU, and had a couple of Sooners. And I'd go TDY, I'd come back to find all my little paraphernalia had been
absconded.
Yes, you know, taken hostage or whatever. So it's just kind of fun. A little bit of rivalries, and a lot of the good folks that I know came from the Academy. So I just wanted to sneak that in there.
Yeah, my wife is always giving me crap because I'll see somebody with something Navy or West Point, and of course, you know, I'll go up to them and say, you know, go Air Force. And you know, a lot of times you get some really good banter back and forth, and she'll jokingly say, you can't let these other guys go by without saying something. I'm like, come on, no.
It's part of the rivalry.
It's
part of the fun.
Yeah.
So, kind of last question, or just maybe a statement. If there's anything that, like, if you were talking to the taxpayers and folks in the public right now, and you wanted them to know, hey, us old government guys, active duty, civil service or anything, is there any takeaway or message that you would like to share with them?
Yeah, I mean, I think the whole notion that there is so much goodness that's being done out there. And of course, in any organization,
That's right.
you're going to have some fluff or some craziness. You're always going to have things going on. But if you look at overall goodness of what's happening out there, the Air Force programs, let's say, or some of the great construction projects that the Air Force is doing, dorms where our youngest, brightest kids are living, is pretty amazing. What's also interesting, and a lot of people don't realize that, is that each of those funds, the organization really has to fight hard for. Because, I mean, you are like in there scrapping. I'm thinking back to the boiler, it's not the boiler room, engine rooms.
Yeah, the engine room,
where
the bullpen.
Yeah, the bullpens, where each of the different services are completely fighting for, like in particular, MILCON, military construction dollars for new facilities. Well, it's essential because if we might be maintaining something that's really old and it's taken a lot of money, and of course, when you peel that onion back and you think of all the individuals who are contractor or civil service or military maintaining those facilities, that takes a lot of money. And well, how can we make that better? And that's what we're doing. So I think that when folks hear in the news about some budgets here or this or that or whatever, to get a really good understanding of the mass of what we're doing. Now, there's always going to be programs that you can cut or do things better, but there's a lot of good work going on out there, and as well as a great number of initiatives to save money and to do things smarter. In USAFE, we had some numerous different Air Force level chief of staff programs that we would compete for, and show all the great things that we've done. I was really fortunate in my career to have hired this guy named Adam Leegland, and he was our chief of engineering at Aviano. And then he's one of these guys where you say to yourself, okay, this guy knows so much, super big brain guy. We need to give him more responsibility because he's going to make things just great.
Yeah.
And I'm also not a genius, so I've learned early in my career that I need to keep rock stars and put folks. You want to be affiliated with individuals who are wonderful, because that's the winning team. And Adam was definitely able to help us out with a winning team, and we won numerous different awards and accolades because we had these programs set up to save money, to reduce the amount of spending that we're doing. You think of this asset, Bob Moriarty. It's just, I'm channeling my inner Bob Moriarty, where we're spending, let's say, $5 million. Well, if we do this, and this, and we spend a chunk of money, we're only going to be spending this future amount, and you have a return on investment. It's like a business where you're doing the smart things. And I think that a lot of times people overlook the fact that we're doing those things across the board. Department of the Interior, Department of the Army, Navy, the Marines, across everything that is making it better. And fortunately, we've got great individuals, out there like Adam or Brian Hashimoto, or yourself in the Department of the Interior, who are really leading and doing great things.
Yeah, I second that. I would say, and this has been ballpark, and this will come up 100 times in this podcast, but the folks I talk to, the number that I feel comfortable saying is like 85-90% of the people I work with are rock stars. Mm-hmm. They get up every morning, they come in, they do their job, they go home. And, like you'd said, there's always something somewhere in an organization. And unfortunately, I think that was the narrative. Mm-hmm. And we're just trying to do stuff like this to go, no. There's a lot of, and what you'd said earlier, there's a lot of innovation. Because when you think of, like, if you're a layman out in the public and someone says innovation, sometimes you don't think about the federal government. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of innovation that goes on if you just take the time and talk to the folks that actually do the jobs.
We were just talking a little bit about green roofs and solar infrastructure. I mean, there's some amazing programs out there that if you hang out, or just the LEED programs where we're making buildings so much smarter, better, more efficient. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, you make it more efficient, you reduce your energy bill, lower energy bill, less taxes. I mean, it's just one of those, like, come on, help us here. Yeah. Sometimes you have to spend a little money to save a lot of money. So.
Unfortunately, I'm impressed to see how the whole U.S. government has changed, as well as the private sector, after unfortunate circumstances with COVID.
Yeah.
Because we realized, and for years and years and years, civil engineers in any organization, facility engineers in any organization, fought the whole real estate battle with people about, each office is a cost, and if you walk by an empty office, I would jokingly say that I'm hearing the money sounds because we have to keep the power on, the AC, you've got custodial maintenance. So if we were able to do something like that, and for years and years it didn't click with a lot of senior leadership who was automatically paying the bills and automatically paying some of those things. Unfortunately, as a result of COVID, I think they realized that, maybe folks can be very productive, and we shouldn't be spending tons of money on empty offices. So, I mean, that's just one other situation in which organizations are saving tons of money.
That's right. Well, thank you. It's been a pleasure.
No.
Oh man, this is great.
I love this. This is great.
All right. Well, thanks everybody.
Hey, take care.
Sign out. Hey, Robert here. If you find yourself traveling down I-40 in eastern Oklahoma and you need a quiet place for the night, stop in and see my friends Kelly and Jody at Ambassador's Inn and RV Park, where they aim to provide you 3 things: a clean room, your restful night's sleep, and probably a wacky story, because Kelly is full of them. But don't, and I repeat, do not let him tell you a joke. He's terrible at jokes. Kelly and Jody aim to provide a clean, quiet, uneventful stay. Ambassador's Inn and RV Park is an American-owned and operated small business where your peace and comfort are their top priority. You'll find Ambassador's Inn and RV Park at exit 278, where a safe and homely atmosphere awaits. Be sure and tell them the old government guy sent you. For more information, you can find Ambassador's Inn and RV on Facebook or give them a call at 918-463-3727. Hey, Robert, one of the old government guys here, and I'm joined by my friend, Mr. Kenny Johnson, who's an older government guy. That's right.
Yes.
And it's a pleasure to sit down and chat with Kenny. And Kenny, I was just wondering if you've got any kind of stories from your federal career that, people may find humorous, if maybe.
Yeah, there's been quite a few. In our line of business, we run into it every day.
So even when we work together.
Even when we work together, so you just can't help but just appreciate the humor in doing our daily job. I've got a couple, like I said, but I got one in particular, and I think you've heard this one, Rob, at my retirement ceremony. Young engineer with about 5 other young engineers, and we're all very competitive and always trying to outdo each other on a project. The bosses give us a project and try to finish it fast, and try to be the best at it. And if you can stab the guy in the back, you can stab the other guy in the back, so you can come out on top. And our boss was about 85 years old at the time, and we're all young guys and stuff. And he was very rough around the edges. He didn't laugh a lot, didn't take a lot from us. He knew he had a young crew and he had to shape us and form us, and he did his best that he could. But we were all competitive right out of college and hitting each other up, and we would never help each other. I can see someone failing and I'm going to let him fail because I wanted to be on top. And that was just the competitive nature of the engineering environment that we were in. Well, like I told you before, Rob, there was one project that, I think he wanted to try to bring us all together, and so we can be camaraderie and build a
Work as a team.
Work as a
Yeah,
team.
work as a team.
And so, a great idea on his part, but with us, it was just kind of hard. So, getting us together was a challenge in the first place. So, we all finally got together. He pulled us all together and says, I want this. I want you guys to really come up with a great idea. Bam, bam, bam. And this is what I need. And we were in aircraft maintenance, so anything we did would affect the mission in the long term. And so we all kind of got together, and we all were throwing out individual ideas, but we didn't open up or were so transparent that we would give all the information to our partners here. But eventually, after a couple of months of that stuff, he wanted a solution, and we weren't giving him a solution. So finally, we kind of okay, we better do this. Let's just come up with something great, and we all got on board, and we kind of put together the competitive nature that we have, and so we started working on stuff, and we started working on different ideas. This guy always worked on landing gear, so he had this idea. This guy worked on windshields. He had this idea, and I was working on a different thing, and all the other guys were working on different stuff. So we kind of got together and kind of found a common little ground there. That finally, oh man, this is great. Well, as competitive as we were, we wanted to expand those ideas, and we were going to knock his socks off. We were going to show him we were great together and all that kind of stuff. And the boss, he unfortunately years before he had a lawnmower accident, and he actually lost 2 of his fingers like this, and nobody ever talked about it. He never talked about it, but we just ignored it or whatever, and just keep that in mind as the story goes on. So we're coming up with this great idea. It was great. We kind of put it on paper. It was good. We were all excited about it, that man, we were going to change the Air Force world. Change the world, maintenance world. This is going to be great. And we're all high-fiving each other and just always patting each other on the back. We couldn't wait to show him, so we got a meeting set up, and he said, how are we doing with this? And we said, we're almost there. We got this, sir. We are excited. And so he says, okay. So we set up the meeting, got in there. We all gave our pitch, gave our presentation. And for the first time, it was all connected. We were all had this thing together. And we're telling him, and he wasn't saying much. He was looking at us like, what are you guys thinking? That's what I'm getting. And then he let us finish, and then he starts railing on us. He said, you guys are the stupidest thing. This is ridiculous. What are you guys doing? I can't believe you guys have done this stuff. And, we're just looking, and we're like, I thought we did a good job. And here it comes. And he is every 4-letter word, words I've never heard before as a Christian. He is ripping into us left and right. And then finally he gets enough breath after he used every curse word in the book. And he just says, he looks at us and says, you guys need to give me 5 good reasons why I shouldn't fire each and every one of you right now. And young guys, we're sitting there. We can't laugh at him. All we saw was the 5 good reasons. And I like I said in my retirement ceremony, and since that point, everything in our office became, give me 5 good reasons why you can't do that.
Can you use your other hand?
Yeah. I'm telling you, we were dying inside. We couldn't help but laugh, and we completely forgot, all of the bad stuff we did according to him, and we were just stuck on the 5 good reasons for the rest of our careers with him.
That I laughed so hard at the retirement ceremony, and I immediately went to, man, Kenny, you gotta tell me that story. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, and after I told that at the retirement ceremony, even General Miller, who did the officiating, he says, well, Kenny, you gotta give me 5 reasons why I need to do this. So I think it perpetuated even more, across the spectrum there.
Yeah, man, that's a good story. Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah. So anyway, we tell this because it's good times, and like I was saying before, we're just like regular people doing our jobs. You have to find the humor in the work sometimes to make the insanity bearable. But,
right. It is all good, and it's when you can go back and laugh about it,
after the fact.
And that's how it was with my previous director. It was after the fact. You can go back and laugh and say that she was justified. She was justified in ripping us a new one. So and you just take that and keep on going.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I appreciate you sharing the story, Kenny, and I look forward to keeping in touch. We're absolutely going to keep in touch.
Yeah.
And thanks again for all your hard work and your dedication in your career, and I appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate you too, Ralph. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right.
And there you have it. We just wrapped up another episode of The Old Government Guys, a Rapid Point studio production. We're always on the lookout for new folks to highlight, so if you know someone who deserves to be recognized, let us know. And if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions for the show, we'd love to hear from you. Please reach out and send us a note at OGG@rapidpointstudio.com. Old Government Guy Robert here. Just wanted to thank you for tuning in. Please be sure to like, follow, or subscribe, and make sure you tell a friend about the show. It's our goal to be your third favorite podcast, so keep the suggestions coming in as we work to mature our platform. And once again, thanks for tuning in.